My father-in-law promised us a down payment on a house as a wedding gift. We found the perfect place and made an offer. Then he pulled out at the last minute. I changed my mind, he said. You need to learn self-reliance. That same week, he bought a vacation condo for his girlfriend and posted about it with the hashtag deserved. My wife cried for 3 days. I went to the bank, took out the money myself, and bought the house without his help. When he showed up unannounced on move-in day, I closed the door in his face. I've never been the kind of person who expects help. I fix cars for a living. My wife, Stacy, works long shifts as a nurse. We earn what we have. We save. We plan. We don't go on fancy trips or buy expensive crap. We wanted a house, but we knew it would take a few more years unless something big changed. That change came the night of Alan's 60th birthday dinner. Alan is my father-in-law. He's one of those guys who always wants to be seen as generous, important, the patriarch of the family. That night, after a few drinks, he called me over while everyone else was still eating cake. I like you, he said. You're not a punk like Stacy's ex. You've got your head on straight. Thanks, I said, kind of surprised. He leaned in and said, when the time comes and you two are ready to buy a house, let me know. I'll help with the down payment. Consider it a wedding gift. He said it like it was a done deal, not a suggestion, not a maybe. He even said, don't let that dream wait too long. I told Stacy later that night, and she teared up. Not because of the money, because he offered. Her dad was always distant, kind of controlling. But this made her feel like he actually wanted her to be happy. Fast forward about 16 months. We'd been married for 6, still living in a tiny rental near the highway. Then we found it. A small 3-bed, 2-bath ranch on a quiet street in Eugene. Just enough yard. Solid bones. We fell in love with it the second we stepped in. The asking price was right at the top of our budget. But with Alan's promised help, we could finally make a real move. We made an offer. Got accepted. I called Alan the next morning to give him the good news. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, yeah, about that. My stomach dropped. I knew it before he even finished the sentence. I thought about it, he said, and I think you two need to learn how to do things on your own. That's the only way people grow. You can't expect handouts forever. I was silent. I didn't know what to say. I was shaking. He kept going. I changed my mind. It's time you learn some self-reliance. I swear to God, my wife was listening in, and I saw her knees give out when she heard him say it. She sat down right there on the floor and started crying. Not just crying breaking. The kind of crying that makes your chest hurt just hearing it. I hung up. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just ended the call. 3 days later, I saw the post on Facebook. Alan, arm around his new girlfriend Gina, grinning like a man who just won the lottery. A picture of them holding champagne glasses on a balcony. The caption read, hard work pays off. Hashtag deserved. The location tag? Bend, Oregon. The condo we all knew cost at least $400,000. Gina's barely older than me. She calls Alan my silver stallion and once asked me if I could fix her aura when I offered to rotate her tires. It hit Stacy hard. She didn't talk much for days. She just kept whispering, why would he do that to us? I didn't have an answer, but something inside me hardened. I wasn't going to let this kill her dream, and I wasn't going to let him be the one who got to feel powerful. I emptied out $40,000 from our savings, our emergency fund, our honeymoon fund, everything. I called my best friend Russ and told him I needed a favor. Without asking why, he wired me $10,000. I swore I'd pay him back within the year. We signed the papers that same week. We closed. It was ours. The home we wanted. And on move-in day, while I was bringing in a lamp from the truck, I saw a familiar truck pull up. Alan. He got out like nothing happened, holding a 6-pack and a shiny gift bag. Hey, he said. I figured I'd stop by and help out. Maybe throw something on the grill. I just looked at him. He tried to hand me the bag. I said nothing. I turned, walked to the front door, and slowly, calmly closed it in his face. I heard him say, hey, what the hell, from outside. I locked the door, pulled the curtain. He stood there for about 30 seconds before walking back to his truck. I watched through the blinds as he tossed the gift bag onto the passenger seat like it meant nothing. That would have been a satisfying enough ending for most people, but not for me. He made my wife cry. He made her feel worthless. He acted like we were nothing. And he still walked around town smiling like he was father of the year. So I started planning. He wanted us to learn self-reliance. He was about to see just how much I could do on my own. After that day, I didn't speak to Alan for weeks. Stacy didn't either. She was still shaken. Some nights she'd wake up crying, and I'd hold her until she calmed down. She'd mutter things like, "I just wanted him to be proud," or "Why did he humiliate us like that?" I didn't have answers, but I promised her one thing: I wasn't going to let him get away with it. Now, here's where it starts to get interesting. We started hearing things from other family members. Little things. Alan was telling people we cut him off, that we took his money and slammed the door in his face. According to him, he was the one hurt by us. That we had changed since the wedding. That we didn't appreciate his help. The worst part? People believed him. Stacy's Aunt Kathy called and said, "I heard you two turned away Alan after everything he's done for you. Is that true?" Like we were some ungrateful brats. I laughed when she said that. I asked, "Did he tell you about the $50,000 he promised and then gave to his girlfriend instead?" Silence. That's when I realized Alan wasn't just trying to save face, he was rewriting the story. I didn't want to play his game. But when people start looking at your wife like she's the villain in her own family, it stops being a game. So I made a decision. I wasn't just going to get back at Alan. I was going to expose him. I didn't go digging for dirt. I didn't have to. The man was careless, arrogant. He flaunted everything online like a teenager with a new car. One night, I sat down at my computer and went through his public social media. He'd never locked it down. Turns out that condo in Bend? It wasn't just a vacation spot. It was a second home. Registered under Gina's name. Paid in cash. No mortgage. But here's the real kicker. Alan was still legally married to Stacy's mom, Nora. They'd been separated for years, sure, but not divorced. Nora had always been too tired to deal with it. Alan didn't push it because divorce would mean splitting assets. That condo, if it came out, Nora could go after half. I printed everything. Posts, photos, public records. I showed it to Stacy. She stared at the papers for a long time. Then she said, "Give it to Mom." So I did. I called Nora. I drove the binder over. I didn't even have to explain it. One look at the papers and her whole body went still. That was a Thursday. By Saturday, Alan's world started cracking. Nora served him with divorce papers. Not just any papers, ones that named specific assets he tried to hide, including the condo. Alan showed up at our house again. This time he didn't knock. He pounded on the door like he was going to break it down. "You think this is funny?" he yelled. "You think dragging your mother-in-law into my business is going to help anyone?" I opened the door, stood right in front of him and said, "You wanted us to be self-reliant. That means handling our own problems, right?" He went red. "You don't know what you're doing." "I know exactly what I'm doing," I said. "And so does your lawyer by now." He didn't speak. He just stared at me, breathing hard like he wanted to swing. I didn't flinch. "You can go now," I said. He turned, got in his truck, and peeled out like a teenager. Stacy was watching from the kitchen window. She came over, hugged me from behind, and whispered, "Thank you." But the story wasn't over yet. The fallout had only just begun. After Alan sped off that day, I thought we'd seen the worst of it. I was wrong. Within a week, the calls started coming in, not to us, but to Stacy's work. An anonymous tip to the hospital's HR claimed she was stealing medications. A nurse stealing drugs. The kind of thing that can end a career before anyone even investigates. Luckily, her supervisor knew her well. Stacy's been clean her whole life. Honest. Meticulous. But even with nothing to hide, she had to go through the process, interviews, drug tests, full inventory checks. She came home exhausted, eyes hollow, fingers shaking. "They think I'm a thief," she whispered. That was the moment I knew Alan wasn't just bitter. He was dangerous. I didn't have proof it was him yet, but it was clear as day to me. Who else would want to ruin her reputation like that? Who else would stoop that low? I decided it was time to talk to someone who might know more. Gina. I wasn't planning to confront her violently or anything. I just wanted to see how much she actually knew about the man she was dating. I found her one afternoon sitting on the patio of a trendy smoothie bar downtown. I walked up, calm as I could, and said, "Mind if I sit?" She blinked, confused, but nodded. Sure. You're Stacy's husband, right?" I nodded. "I just have one question," I said. "Do you know Alan's still legally married?" Her mouth dropped open. She didn't say anything for a second, then laughed. "What are you talking about?" I pulled out a folded copy of the divorce summons Nora had served. Slid it across the table. "Filed last week. Surprise." She stared at the paper like it was written in another language. "He told me he was divorced 10 years ago," she said. "Yeah," I said. "Well, that's Alan. Full of surprises." She sat back, looking sick. "He said the condo was in my name, so it'd be safe from his toxic ex." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean his legal wife? The one who now has a claim to half that condo?" Gina didn't say another word. I thanked her for her time and left. I didn't know exactly how things would go down after that, but I didn't have to wait long to find out. 3 days later, Gina made her own post. A long, emotional Facebook update talking about lies and betrayal and how some people hide whole lives behind smooth words and gifs. She didn't name Alan, but everyone knew. She moved out of the Bend condo that same week. Alan tried to spin it. Said Gina couldn't handle the pressure of being with someone as successful as him. But nobody was buying it anymore. He started showing up to family gatherings alone. People stopped sitting next to him. Nora was calm and polite in public, but she had a lawyer who wasn't pulling punches. Turns out Alan had moved some money around trying to keep it hidden, but Gina gave a sworn statement about the condo being a gift. That sealed it. Half of everything Alan thought he owned was now up for grabs. And the lawyer was digging into more. That would have been enough. But then I got the proof I needed to settle something personal. A friend of mine, Paul, works IT at the hospital. He called me one night and said, "You're not gonna believe this. Someone reported Stacy anonymously through a burner email. But they weren't as slick as they thought. He had traced the IP. You already know where it led, Alan's house." That's when I stopped playing nice. The second Paul confirmed the tip came from Alan's house, I snapped. I wasn't even angry anymore. It was something colder, like all the emotion had drained out of me, and all that was left was focus. I didn't tell Stacy right away. She was finally starting to heal, starting to smile again when we picked out curtains or painted the spare bedroom. I wanted to protect that little bit of peace she was finally finding. But I couldn't let Alan walk away from what he'd done. I printed out the IP trace. I took screenshots of every lie he'd posted online. I added it all to the binder with the Facebook posts, the property records, and the divorce filings. Then I filed for a restraining order. It wasn't just to keep him away, it was to make everything official. To get it into the record. To tie all the threads together legally. We added the anonymous complaint as evidence of harassment. The binder had grown thick by then. Almost too full to close. I served him on his driveway. Walked right up to him while he was pulling trash bins out to the curb. No yelling. No drama. I handed him the envelope and said, "Don't call us. Don't come near us. You went too far." He laughed like he always did when he got caught. "You think I'm scared of paper? I built this family." I looked him dead in the eye. "You broke it." Then I walked away. That should have been the end. But Alan had one last card to play, and it blew up in his face. He tried to sue me for emotional distress and defamation. Said I slandered him by spreading lies to Gina and the rest of the family. The problem was everything I said was backed up with facts. He didn't count on that. He thought he could bully his way through like always. But when we went to court and his lawyer realized I had documented everything, you could feel the mood shift. Alan kept glancing at me across the courtroom like he was trying to figure out how I had gotten ahead of him. The judge dismissed his suit with prejudice. But that wasn't the worst part for him. His attempt to sue me backfired. Badly. The court records were now public. All the lies, all the money, the fake harassment claim. Anyone could pull them up. And reporters did. A small-time local news blog ran a story about it. Nothing big, but enough to hit Alan where it hurt most. His ego. See, Alan had always been the guy who gave to charity. Who bragged about scholarships and endowments and building his legacy. Now he was the guy who tried to ruin his own daughter's life and lost everything. The condo? Gone. Gina? Gone. His reputation in town? Trashed. He tried to go to church again like nothing happened. The pastor wouldn't even look at him. Nobody sat in his row. And Stacy? She finally confronted him. I wasn't there when it happened. She asked me not to come. Said she needed to do it alone. She met him at a coffee shop and told him calmly that he had betrayed her in a way that couldn't be undone, that she never wanted to see him again, that she had tried for years to be the daughter he wanted, but he was never willing to be the father she needed. He cried, she said. Actually cried. But she walked out anyway. We've been in our house for just over a year now. It's nothing fancy, but it's real. It's ours. I paid Russ back every cent I borrowed. Stacy's doing better. She smiles more. Sleeps through the night. As for me, I won't pretend I handled it all perfectly. I let it eat at me. I spent months obsessed with getting back at Alan, and maybe I should have focused more on healing. But I don't regret it. He wanted us to learn self-reliance. We did. And we showed him what it looks like when you push good people too far. He burned every bridge. And now he's alone. That's not revenge. That's just justice. And I'll take it. Every single day.